morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel L. Connon. Welcome to Premarket Info.
Are the S&P futures allergic to the 1430 handle? Because every time they get in the 1430s, they get out of it very, very quickly. We bounced out of there again this morning, trading up into the 1440s. Apple is flirting with critical support yesterday. It's bouncing a bit today. Can that key support level hold? The Value Investing Congress is continuing there today. David Einhorn speaking at 10:30. Market mover. Lawsuit filed against J.P. Morgan by the New York Attorney General, saying that Bear Stearns defrauded thousands of investors in their sale of mortgage-backed securities. Also, for you market structure lovers out there, the SEC Market Technology Roundtable starts today at 10 a.m. It's going to be an interesting conversation. You can watch it live on the SEC site. But Joel, this market, when it gets into these 1430s, just seems to bounce out of there as quickly as it gets in there.
Well, it started out in the 1420s, but people started getting a little bit nervous. But is the 1430 handle becoming similar to the 1430 becoming similar to the 1390 handle, where we just bounce and built another foundation for a major rally? Boy, I tell you, I don't want to bet against it.
Yeah, you've got to stay probably bullish as long as this 1424.50 area holds. That was a low back on September 25th. We did make a couple lows in the 1427 area, but it seems like then it cuts into the 1430s and cuts right through the 1430s and then gets up into the 1440s. Obviously, yesterday we blew through resistance, getting as high up there as 1451 before pulling back and then sniffing into the 1430s, closing there, but then quickly in the after hours session pulling out of there again.
Yeah, it's kind of the 1440s is kind of been a wicked handle. It blew through it on the ISM number yesterday, and then when the euphoria from that wore off, we sliced right back down through it, and we're right back up there now. There's no major resistance up to yesterday's high, 1451.50, but I don't know. I think some people might be stepping in ahead of that number.
Apple had an interesting trading day yesterday, held up for the morning, but then started selling off in the afternoon, and man, did it get vicious by the end of the day. Actually got down to that 656.5 area that you had cited, bounced off there and closed a bit higher, and is bouncing again this morning, bouncing nicely, I should say. It's up at 665. But man, that's scary when the stock can sell off 15 points, in a matter of a couple hours.
Looking at this chart, you absolutely have to look at this 656 level as just key, just a key for Apple forever here. Going back to those two lows that you had at 656 and 656.50, remember when those lows occurred there, Dennis? A little test for you this morning.
Was this when the iPhone 5 was released? Or the announcement of the iPhone 5 being released? Yep.
Yep, yeah, the 56.50 low was the day before, and then when it was bouncing around like a ping pong ball, got down to 56. That was the impetus for the rally all the way up over 700. Came back down to 56.50 yesterday, and I was looking at it, and I'm thinking, wow, this might be a good place to try a long in Apple. And before I blinked, it was at 650. Yeah, it was at 658.5. So for you long-term investors holding on to that Apple since the teens, please keep an eye on 656. The rally's still intact until we take that level out. If not, we could be back at 620 in a heartbeat.
Yeah, that 656 key level I've drawn it here on the chart for you there. Key support needs to hold that level for the bulls. J.P. Morgan having a little bit of trouble here this morning, just like we said in the headlines. The New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman is filed a lawsuit against them, saying that the Bear Stearns, back in the old financial crisis days, defrauded.
Few traders still remember Bear Stearns
because J.P. Morgan bought Bear Stearns. Remember the whole debacle where they were paying $2, and then Bear Stearns shareholders are complaining they ended up giving them $10 for the stock that was trading at 180 the year before. But regardless, Bear Stearns has defrauded apparently thousands of investors, is what they're claiming, in the sale of mortgage-backed securities. So the stock is actually, it was trading down for the entire pre-market session here, but now has just actually went positive. So this isn't huge news or anything, but it is putting a little bit of weight because some of the other financials like Citigroup are up 50 cents, JP Morgan only trading up 8 cents here today.
Yeah, looking at the pre-market parameters here, you did get a low at 40.30, a little odd lot traded there after the close, but 40.50 has been the low since that. Traded back up to 41.09, quite a ways from yesterday's high, 41.50. But a couple things to note on this chart. Number one, not to rub it in, Dennis, but we did come back and fill that gap left from the whale trade. And then we came up and we got over $42. 42.09 was the high of the 14th. And then someone has decided that they want out under 42. Since hitting that 42.09 high, the highest we've been is 41.76. So really been holding between 40 and 42 here for quite a while. This thing's poised to break out. I would keep an eye on yesterday's low. 40.80 as minor support. Underneath that, you got major support at the double bottom from last week at 40.21 and 40.16.
Trading up at 41.15 now. Some of your other banks, though, are up even more here this morning. Citigroup is trading at 33.24. Had a pretty good day yesterday, at least in the morning, until the market started giving back a lot of its gains there in the afternoon. But got up in that 33.50 area, made a couple tops up there, and then sold off and basically gave back the majority of the gains. Well, if you were picking up and you were looking at this whole 32.55, 60 area, if you got a chance there, I don't know if you did in the after hours, it has bounced up nicely now up to 33.25.
Yeah, excellent support there. Three lows between 32.53 and 32.70. So let's call that whole area 32.60. It looks like someone has their finger on the sell button here in the pre-market at 33.25. You have a little bit of volume going up in there, so we'll keep an eye on that level. As minor resistance, but you have to look for major, not major resistance, but more resistance at 33.59, which was yesterday's high.
Well, we can't give you much resistance on IBM now because it made a new all-time high yesterday. We were saying that thing was looking like it had the potential to break out. It did big time yesterday, got above 208, didn't even look back, took out and made a new all-time high at 211.75.
News or just there was like an upgrade or something, right?
I don't think there was anything on IBM. Nope, it was just momentum. It carried that momentum from Thursday's session was pretty good. Friday's session was excellent considering we were quite weak on Friday and IBM was up, so the relative strength was excellent. And then we got a lift and this stock led the charge.
Yeah, well, we'll just keep an eye on 211.75. That's the only number that we have in the book as that being the all-time high. There might be a little size there at 212, and the only reason I'm saying that is because it's a whole number. Stocks get like this, it's really hard to pick a top, even though I try all the time. From a longer term perspective, your former all-time high was 210.67. You did get a close just under that level. So long-term investors playing it close to the vest. 210.50 underneath that, there's not a lot of support.
September auto sales are coming out today, so Ford and GM. I know Chrysler's already came out. Waiting on the Ford numbers, waiting on the GM numbers, but Ford is trading up 10.02 right now after closing at 9.93. General Motors is trading up just a little bit as well, 23.33 after closing at 23.09.
Have good support here, just under the $10 level. You had three lows between 91, three of the last four lows between 981 and 988, so that's going to be major support. You had a nice rally here. It looks like you just gave a little bit of retracement. $10 looks like to be a key swing level in this, trading above it in the pre-market. GM has had a nice little run too, had a little bit of a pullback, finding a lot of support here in the 22.80 level. Last 2 days lows were 22.71 and 22.85. The problem, with this stock is, the shorts just have millions and millions and millions of shares of cover because of the government stake in this. So, all these rallies seem to be pretty well sold into. The shorts just love to pick on this stock.
The Value Investing Congress is continuing today. Obviously, there was some big market movers there yesterday. Einhorn's probably one of your big ones. He's speaking at 10:30, and he is a market mover, so you'll want to keep an eye on comments coming out of there. Usually, whatever stocks he mentions, if he's bullish, they usually move up. If he's bearish, they move down. So I'd expect some action out of that.
Yeah, I mean, he just swings a big stick. Him and Bill Ackman. I mean, they have large positions in companies, and not only that, but they seem to be able to make changes in the board or at least initiate some kind of activity as far as replacing CEOs. So, don't want to fade those
Yeah,
boys.
and Ackman was speaking yesterday. And actually, Ackman was just on CNBC there this morning again speaking about Procter and Gamble. He's talked about that stock quite a few times, basically saying that he thinks the company is fat and bloated. He'd like to get rid of the CEO. So Procter and Gamble actually was trading up a little bit here in the pre-market. I don't know if it's going to open that high though, because we've talked about this critical $70 level has just been major, major, major resistance in this stock.
Yeah, it got a trade up in the pre-market near that level. Wasn't on a whole lot of volume
600
there.
shares.
Yeah,
That's
so
nothing.
it's nothing considering the size. It's 70. Just to note to traders here on this Procter and Gamble, really over the last 10, 11 sessions, this stock has only traded under $69 one time, and that was on Friday. Had a 68.64 low. So rangetrader.com here, buying in the 60 low 69, selling at 70
Selling
until
below
it
70,
breaks.
yeah.
Yeah, until it breaks above that level.
See, I like the selling a little bit below that. So, like, it's been running a selling pressure in the whole 69.75 area because once it gets in the 69.90s, once it gets up into that level, the high frequency traders are all selling up there too. And then they keep selling and then they get on the bid and they keep selling and they get on the bid. And then it can actually drive the stock higher up to that 70 level just because there's so many high frequency traders. So, if you're looking to short the stock, I like to be a little bit below where the high frequency resistance is. So, I would call the high frequency resistance probably from 69.87, 69.88 up to 70. So selling it in the 69.80 to 69.75, kind of you're leaning ahead of that high frequency resistance, which might be a little bit of a better trade. It allows the stock to come down still with relative ease because when it gets up into the 69.90s, it has a rough time selling off just because so many high frequency traders then have short positions, which they're then getting on the bid and actually supporting the stock. If we're talking about high frequency trading, they're going to be talking about this at the SEC today. We're not going to go into a deep market structure conversation with you, but the SEC is holding their market technology roundtable today. It starts at 10 a.m. You can watch it live on the SEC site. It'll be streamed there. There's lots of speakers, again, very heavily weighted to the high frequency, pro high frequency trading. Probably just because these guys know market structure, I mean, better than anyone else, because the high frequency traders are the ones that know the market structure so they can exploit the holes in it. But there's some keynote speakers there. But one I do like, and one that is going to give some good arguments on market structure, and he's kind of your more person that's on the panel kind of going against high frequency trading, is David Lauer from Better Markets. He had an excellent testimony up on the Hill there last week to the Senate, and he's going to be now testifying here at the roundtable. So he's probably going to speak. He's a third speaker here today, so I'd imagine he's probably going to come on around 11 a.m. So if you are interested in hearing some good market structure, a little bit of anti-HFT stuff, he's probably one you want to tune into.
Yeah, Dennis, no one's going to care about HFT until the market goes down like 900 points. And then they're like, "Oh my God, what's this HFT?
I
What did
know.
long as the market goes higher, it's because of the HFTs providing liquidity bids on the upside." But before we close out the show, just want to highlight a few levels that were visited yesterday. ExxonMobil 92.50 hit that level
Wow.
again,
It's
hung
unbelievable.
up there for a while. And then kind of with the market, that was about the same time the spoos were hitting their high. Just finally gave way. Couldn't get a settlement in the 92 handle. We've only had one settlement over 92 over the last couple of weeks. Getting a little pop. Uh, Eventually that 92.50 is going to go, but like to have our traders keep an eye on that.
That level has just been ridiculously huge. I mean, here you are from the 25th. It got right to that point again, right to that point yesterday, and sells basically, straight off for the next hour and a half. That 92.50 is just a huge level of resistance. But if the stock flirts with it enough, eventually it will take it out. Chevron too there, Joel. Didn't quite get up to the 118 and a half, but got up to I think what 118.19. So it did get up there, and we've been saying the same thing. We actually have John on the charts there for you. 118.50, that whole area just huge for Chevron, and Exxon. This 92 and a half is just ridiculous. It's so big.
Right. Just looking at yesterday's activity a little bit. I'm not sure what you have for the composite low that, but 116.87 was just below the previous day's high at 116.89. So you got excellent support there, and of course the 118.50 level. And the last level to point out, General Electric at 23.
23 is just enormous. I actually did get a trade off on General Electric. I sold at 22.97. Did get covered there. I do have a small position still on. It's 22.94 here in the pre-market, but 23 absolutely enormous until it can get above 23, which I think it might do here eventually. It's now flirted with it a couple times. I always kind of say third time's a charm. One time comes up, sells off. Second time comes up, tries to sell. Third time comes up, usually takes it out. This is almost your third attempt at it today, so I tend to think we get a strong open, get some follow through. It's probably going to open just under that 23 when we're up 7 or 8 points. So it all depends. If we get follow through in the market and the market starts to rally, that 23 will go. If the market starts to crater there and fall back down, then maybe the 23 holds again.
Okay. All right. That's our show for today, folks, and we'll be back with you tomorrow.